On behalf of your host, Steve D, this is Bruce Buffer saying thank you for tuning in to Xtreme Lyfe. And now, this is the moment Xtreme Lyfe fans around the world have been waiting for. It's time!
Hey everybody, welcome to Xtreme Lyfe Podcast episode 24. Today on the show, I have James Speedy Gonzalez, Featherweight World Champion of Cage Fury. Phenomenal guy, really humble guy, super high-level jiu-jitsu. He comes out of Matt Serra BJJ Academy, which is just, an incredible high-level jiu-jitsu academy. Those guys are just, he's got a whole roster over there, just killers. So those guys are pretty high, very high level. And it was awesome to have James on the show. We talked about his recent title victory over Pat Sabatini. Pat Sabatini's an amazing high-level athlete himself, but James came into that fight short notice. I think he only had 6 days to prepare, cut weight. I mean, if you know anything about MMA or any fighting game or combat sports in general, there's usually a fight camp that happens before a fight. That could be anywhere from 8 weeks to 4 months of camp before you go into a fight where you prep and get all that stuff ready. And he came into this short notice, 6 days, and ended up winning the fight, winning the title. Came in as the underdog. Even he says, people usually comes in as the underdog and he ends up, a lot of times ends up on top of that. So, and that fight, he just came in and he ended up in a position where he was able to take the title, in one of the most brutal, arm breaks I've seen. Which is, we all wish Pat a speedy recovery on that. Hopefully he's back in the cage fighting again real soon, because, no one likes to see somebody get injured like that. But, it was just a bad scenario, bad situation, ended up costing him the title. And James is now the featherweight champion of the world for Cage Fury. So, we talk all about that. We talk about all this stuff. We talk about the recent John Jones-Reyes fight. We talk about Valentina Shevchenko and her fight and some other fights and things that are going on and his aspirations for the future. So check it out. Enjoy the show. Really excited to have him on. And it's a really cool interview. So check it out. If you're a fight fan, if you're not, you just want to know and get some insight into the sport, check it out. Maybe you'll find a love for it like I do, and we'll go from there, all right? So check out the show. Here you go.
Not bad.
All right. So thanks, man. I appreciate you taking the time. Talk to me. Should I call you Champ now, I guess?
You can call me James. I don't want to get too used to that, but it's nice when I hear it. It's good.
Yeah, no, man, that's out of respect. I saw that fight, the last fight you did with Pat Sabatini.
Mm-hmm.
You were just phenomenal, man. Really high level jiu-jitsu coming out of the gate. Why don't you walk me through, if you don't mind, walk me through what was going on in your head during coming into that fight. Because I know you took it short notice, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of real quick, and you had to get ready for the fight. I think 6 days?
Yeah. So I always I'm at the gym all the time anyway. The biggest thing was making the weight, because I had to lose about 16, 17 pounds, 6 days out. So
that's a rough
yeah,
one.
that was the biggest worry is just making weight. You don't want to take a fight and then show up unprepared. Just made weight and leading up to the fight, coming up what I was gonna do. I always like a guy who's a grappler anyway. So because then I know, okay, I'm gonna have a lot of opportunities to show off my jiu-jitsu and work from my strong point.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that fight, I was just ready. I started with kicking because, when you're not worried about the ground, you can really open up with your striking. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna throw head kicks, leg kicks, whatever I want, anything that will encourage the guy to look for an opportunity to take me down. It's always better for a guy to take you down than you are the one who shoots for the takedown and blows through a ton of energy trying to get it. So, that's one of the better things about being a really good grappler is that you can really let loose with your striking or your kicks without worrying about going to the ground. So that was really like the game plan because
You're comfortable. You're super comfortable on the ground. I could tell by just what happened. I mean, you came out, I think the first 10 seconds or so, there were a couple kicks being thrown, and then you just ended up on the ground with him with this lock on his head.
yeah. So what happened? He saw what I was doing. He timed after like the first two kicks. He timed the third one, and he kicked my back leg out from me. But while doing that, my teep was already coming through. So we pretty much both knocked each other down from just being on one foot. We both lost our balances. And yeah, as soon as as soon as I see something, I think I shot for the inverted triangle as I was falling down. I don't think I actually
That's what it
hit
looked
the
like.
ground before. Yeah, like for me, usually, especially guys who I've never trained with before, I'm a kind of a tough puzzle to figure out, like in the moment. So yeah, I just shot for that, made him have to, hide his arms and really come in close to try and get control over me. That Frank Mir lock, that modified shoulder lock that I do. I do it all the time in the gym. Usually, when guys get put there, they try and push themselves through instead of trying to pull out because yeah, initially he kind of broke his own arm like that, like
That's what it
the
looked like.
leverage I had on it at first. If he could have just tapped like before that happened instead of trying to rip his arm free, that's when his shoulder went out. And then when I told the ref, like that's what I was saying. I was letting the ref know, like, hey, his arm's broken. He told me to continue the submission because he wasn't tapping, and that's when I had to, put the pressure on the elbow, and that's when it really started looking bad. But speedy recovery to him. I really hope it's not as bad as it looks. I hope that he can get in there before get back in the cage before the end of the year is up. A lot of my friends and everyone have sent prayers and
Oh,
healing
absolutely.
to him. So I hope the best for him and a quick recovery for him.
Yeah, no, and absolutely, I echo that thought as well because you hate to see someone get injured like that in a fight like that, and I think you're absolutely right. I think him trying to pull his way out of it is what it looked like. That
Mhm.
the whole thing kind of came up, and as he
Yeah.
came up, everything kind of just ripped. And and he was in a weird position when he was standing because it doesn't look like he could have tapped at that point because his other hand was giving him leverage.
Yeah. He was trying to like push his arm through and I guess maybe get back to like a full guard situation.
Yeah.
But when he started rotating his body away from the shoulder lock, like that's the exact fulcrum I need to break the arm. So it was just like a lapse in judgment, I think. Kind of like how, if you remember that Ryan Hall BJ Penn fight, when
Yeah.
BJ Penn, he was in the heel hook and then he backstepped and while he already had his heel. That was the worst thing he
Went
could have
wrong.
done
Yeah,
was
yeah,
backstep. Yeah.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
it was similar in the sense that he just went in the direction that he shouldn't have gone, and then it really,
It
went
just
bad.
added pressure to it, and I mean
Yeah.
that was one of the worst arm breaks I've seen in a while.
Mm-hmm.
We wish Pat Sabatini a speedy recovery. Love to see him. He's a great fighter, phenomenal
Mm-hmm.
athlete, as you are too. I mean, it's just amazing that you came in there with 6 days notice, dropped weight, got
Mm-hmm.
ready, came in there, and now you're the featherweight champ. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm
it's
I'm
awesome.
hoping to get the shot at that 135-pound belt soon, or if that doesn't happen, the contender series. That's something I've been wanting to get on for a long time. It's been a goal of mine.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I was on Dana White's Looking for a Fight. 2 years ago. Me and my teammate Marab, we both showcased that episode. Marab ended up getting the ticket for the UFC, finished the guy with a spinning back fist, knocked him out, and I dominated my fight with ground and pound and everything. But hopefully this gives me some of the notoriety. I think I been pulling for, especially since it's been all over online. It kind of went viral on Facebook and everything like that. But yeah, like I've been fighting top guys since I started. I like one of the hardest things about fighting is just making weight. It's not so much the person they put in front of me or anything like that. It's just the discipline to train and to make the weight when the time comes. But get in the cage. I fought so many tough guys, and like the two guys I have lost to, I went the distance with, and they both had their opportunities in the UFC. One still is Ultimate Fighter, Trizano, and then the other, Bill Algeo, he fought in the Contender Series. But these are top guys in the Northeast region. Yeah. So I'm not too worried when I get in the cage because I know I've gone with the top guys, big guys on the higher end of the weight class, and I did well against them. So I don't feel really too much of anxiety or nervousness when I get in the cage because I know I go with I've fought some of the best guys in the Northeast region already.
Yeah, and that's the thing, cutting the weight, getting to that point, especially with short notice and stuff, is probably one of the harder things to do, and maintain energy because when you're cutting weight, you're going to lose some energy with that too at times. So to keep training, cutting weight, it's a delicate balance, man. And so from what I'm hearing is you're trying to get to the UFC at some point on a Contender Series. I mean, you have definitely some awesome goals there, and you definitely showed a lot. Like I said, I was very impressed with the jiu-jitsu, the level of jiu-jitsu that you were able to show that just recently. And I know you've been studying. You're with Matt Serra, right?
Since 2010, I've been with Matt. It's like this is my only coach. I haven't been on another team. I literally popped my cherry to Serra BJJ, and I started working throughout the Serra Longo camp. And I've been with them since the beginning. I'm planning on being them till the end. This is where it's at.
Well, they're doing good by you. I mean, there's definitely something to be said about loyalty. You got to have the people who take care of you. You got to take care of them, and and vice versa. And I mean, so who do you see in your division right now? Because you're in the division, you just won the title. I mean, is there a plan for a defense on that, or is there just a plan to try to unify some titles, or what do you think?
Well, initially, what I want to do, because I want to fight for the 135-pound belt.
Yeah.
I fought at 45. Just because it was a short notice fight. Like I would defend this belt, but I would want to do that after I fight at my new weight class, because 135 is the weight class that I would be wanting to compete in the UFC, anyway. So I need that experience of getting down to that weight anyway. So I prefer to fight for the 135-pound belt next. Yeah.
Okay.
And depending on my performance there, especially if I don't get injured or anything, I could have a quick turnaround. Maybe I'll defend the 45-pound belt. We'll see what happens. But right now, I'm really looking to get a shot at that 35-pound belt.
The 35. So you're even looking at cutting even more. If I might ask, what's your normal walking around weight? So just so I can get some perspective.
When I'm not being fat, I'm usually between like 58 and 62.
Okay.
But like not super lean. Like I don't really cut like a ton of weight, but I'm comfortable at 160. And I'll be like maybe 10%, 12% body fat. So like getting to 135 isn't too big a deal as long as I have a camp or opportunity to cut the weight correctly. I definitely wouldn't be able to get to 35 on 6 days notice.
Not 6 days, no.
No. But yeah, but even like after this fight, when I was in the cage, and this was at 45, I can see a huge difference from the last time I was in the cage at 35 to compared to what I looked like at 45. I'm pretty chubby at 45. I'm not like the most muscular guy.
Yeah.
But 35, I'm lean and I look like I belong there. It's definitely the place I want to stay at.
That's the comfortable weight for you to fight at is 35, and
Yeah.
definitely that's a tough division in the UFC too. I mean, if that's where you
Oh,
want
I
to.
love it. We got so many bantamweights, and my friend Marab, he's fighting tonight. Actually, he's
Yeah.
in the UFC. He's fighting Case Kenny or something like that.
So
But
yeah,
wishing him all the best. This guy's a monster. He's definitely going to be at the top of the division soon. But yeah, I'm hoping we're Aljamain Sterling. He says it all the time. We're like the Long Island alpha male. You know, they got all the smaller guys there, so we got like the same thing.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I was checking out the roster of the gym over there. You guys are working out at in your camps over there, and I'll tell you what, you guys got some killers in that.
Yeah, man.
that place, man.
That's the way. Especially we got some guys from Japan like Sasaki and Naoki and Mizuki. We have all these foreign fighters that come to train too, who just help and push the pace and like we get so many people besides the guys who are Long Island based coming through. It's such a good mix of technique and just everybody. It's great.
Yeah, well, it's world class. It's definitely world class over there. In the jiu-jitsu, like I said, you definitely showed a lot of you definitely know you are a high level jiu-jitsu guy with the triangles and things you were throwing in that at a quick pace like that. It just was amazing. So
Yeah, it's my bread and butter. I think I think CM Punk his description of it, scary jujitsu,
Oh, yeah.
fighter like. That's how I like to roll. That's the way. You got to go for things. You can't just like see like me. I love being on top,
Yeah.
but I'm also extremely comfortable on my back. So
Yeah.
like usually guys aren't ready for like jujitsu offense off the back like that. Because it's nonstop. I attack until I get top position. So if you're gonna stay in my guard or you're gonna try and stay on top of me and control me, you're gonna be fighting from that position the whole time.
I mean, I've literally had people in rubber guard when they've been on top of me and literally have choked them down.
Yeah, yeah.
When they've been on top. So it's, like I said, I'm nowhere on your level. I mean, you're definitely at a whole nother level than I am. But like I said, I'm like in that same respect. I'd rather have somebody trying to come at me, tiring themselves out and wearing themselves down.
And Pat, he did everything right. Like looking for control because I think he was trying to do like a knee side pass through the middle. He got his underhook, but with that mirror lock, it kind of requires your opponent to do the right thing to get that submission. You need them to have the underhook to go for that. So he was doing everything right. It's just from that particular position, I was able to take advantage of the fact that he had the underhook, and then the finish came from there.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like I said, it was just a great performance on your behalf, and like you said, it looked like he was doing everything right. It's just the positioning just favored where you guys ended up and in your position, and you just did the right things as well.
For sure.
So real quick, I just want to get your thoughts on. Did you see the John Jones and Reyes fight?
Yeah, I did see the John Jones Reyes fight.
Yeah,
I know there's a lot of controversy on that one. But I don't know. I would say I think Jones won. I know because this is what happens and this is what usually happens. The challengers, they come out, and it's funny because I think Reyes used to be a football player or something too.
Yep.
He came out with the blitz,
Oh, yeah.
But once you get to those championship rounds, you saw everything pretty much turn around.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that John was dodging, like, when they slow it down, you really get to see how, especially when Reyes threw that 2-3 uppercut hook cross, He was bucking and weaving and like very well, and a lot of those hit his shoulder. So I can see how, with like the pressure in the first 2 rounds, how it may seem, and then the third round it could have been either or. But like I forget who said it, but like I think it was Dominic Cruz or Joe Rogan. They said if that went another 5 rounds, or if that fight went, you would see what would happen. I really feel like maybe if Dominic Reyes paced himself a little more and didn't try and blitz him as much as he did in the first 2 rounds, I think the fight could have went to him for sure. Yeah. But he kind of just put too much energy in those first couple rounds. He did open up like Conor McGregor, though. Like, I think he wanted to try and break a record because he came in and just threw that cross, that left cross down the middle. And like that one, when I saw him come in like that, I was like, oh, damn. Like, this is real. But I definitely think the next fight will be much less competitive. John Jones has shown time and time again that once he fights you, the second time he comes around, he's motivated to finish you if he didn't finish you the first fight. So, we'll see what happens.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to stay on that thought while I'm thinking about it. So you would pick Jones in the second fight, you think?
Oh, I think it would be Jones is going to finish him in the second fight. Not so much because he feels he has to. It's just because now he has a feel for what to expect really from him, because Reyes, he was on like a 6 or 7 fight win streak in the UFC, something like that.
Yeah, he's done really well, and it didn't really. I mean, I was talking to Bruce Buffer about this in the last podcast, and we were talking about this fight, and Bruce and I kind of agree. We do give it to Jones. As far as, because when you look at it, we weren't really surprised Reyes did well, because Reyes is a long, lean fighter like Jones. Jones tends to have a lot of problems with those types of fighters that are just like him, at least in the beginning. And, I gave the first, I was telling Bruce, I gave the first 2 rounds to Reyes. The third round could have went either way. Yeah. And the last 2 rounds I'd give to John. Yeah. And like I said, I'm not unhappy with the victory on John Jones. I think, definitely if that fight would have kept going, he would have definitely won that fight. Like in a schoolyard, Yeah. That kind of thing. But it's definitely it was one of those things where the judges were really kind of a little screwy in that.
Yeah. I think because they already had so many controversial decisions throughout the night
coming up to that event,
that it just made it so much worse for the main the main event. So I think if they didn't have all the problems they were having with the judging that night and we got this decision, people probably wouldn't be as outraged over it. I think it was just a culmination of all the bad calls and all the bad scoring that really just left a bad taste in people's mouth for the main event.
Well, yeah, because there was some pretty bad judging on that night, and to score it 4 rounds to 1 favorite Jones was kind of like I said, I definitely had Reyes in the first 2, and then like I said, the third was either way, and then the last 2 were definitely Jones. But it was still a great fight. Both fighters did a great job. And then, another one that was great that night, Valentina Shevchenko. Oh. She's just a beast, man.
I love that lady. Yeah. She's amazing. I would love to see, especially since she's pretty much cleaned out there's not a lot of people at 125 to fight her. Like, just fight Amanda Nunes, get that double champ status. I really think she can beat Amanda. The second fight, I definitely thought she won the second fight against Amanda. The first one, I could see Amanda winning, but I really thought she won the second. I felt like for her, because she was protesting afterwards. Like, I really think she could be a 35-pound champion. She's literally a female version of my friend Marab. That girl has a gas tank. She's a machine as well, nonstop, in your face, incredible striking technique and grappling.
Oh, yeah.
Like you would think that maybe like if someone was so good at one thing, they wouldn't be equally good at another. But she's just all around a beast. I love watching her fight. Valentina's the bomb.
Oh yeah, no, she can roll and she can, she could do either way. She can
Yeah.
go, and she's just, I mean, she was actually taking, Kathy down at
Hmm.
times, or going for that, which is surprising because she likes to stay on her feet. She does like to stay on her feet, and
Yeah, yeah.
that kick, those kicks she
Hmm.
has are just like you could hear them.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, they're beautiful.
They're just like
Yeah.
wow. And she's got this technical perfection that happens. She's so technical that it's hard for fighters to figure her out. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's just you can't get that up to the other side of it to where you get an opening to really lay into her. And
Yeah.
she kind of comes right out, and every time you strike, she counters with something that seems to really hurt the opponent.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. She's just a technician in there from anywhere. Especially at 125, I think she's not only the most well-rounded, but she's the best in each like practice she does, whether it's kickboxing or she does like really beautiful taekwondo kicks, and even with the grappling, I think she's the best in all aspects in that division. Either one of the martial arts, and I think at 135, because she does give up a little bit of a weight advantage. I
yeah.
still think she can beat the champ. I definitely think she can be a title contender for sure still. I'd love to see that fight and see her get that double champ status.
Tell you what, that would, if Dana White would definitely make out on, that's a great bill right there to have
Mhm.
Amanda Nunes against Shevchenko would be
Yeah.
like this incredible. That would be a big pay-per-view. So if Dana White,
Es-
then that's the one to have.
yeah, especially after seeing what Amanda Nunes looked like in the later rounds against Jermaine Durandamy.
Yeah.
Jermaine Durandamy did not look comfortable on the floor at all that entire fight. I think she went for one triangle where she looked like she knew what she was doing, but like Valentina ain't gonna give you an easy fight like that, and she's
Working.
just
Yeah.
as dangerous, if not more dangerous, on the feet as Durandamy. So I that's definitely a fight I would look forward to, especially if they don't have any contenders that could fight Amanda Nunes anytime soon.
I don't really see any. It's interesting because in both of those divisions, both champs kind of cleaned it up a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of the next fight that would really make sense for both of them. But let's see what happens. I mean, hopefully we'll see that. We'll see that fight, and I don't know if we'll see another Jones Reyes real soon. I think that might be a little bit, and that would be the smart thing on Reyes' part to just kind of back up for a second,
Yeah.
do the things and then come back in. But we'll see what happens. I mean, the UFC is an interesting animal, and I hope to see you there at some point in the near
Yeah,
future.
no,
I
it'd
think
be
I will.
great.
And I
That
hope
would be great.
I hope you still want to come talk to me when you're in the UFC. That'd
Oh,
be
of
awesome.
course, man. That's no problem. It's fun. This stuff is easy. The fighting is hard. The talking is easy, right?
Yep. No, that's great, man. Like I said, man, it's who. So let me ask you this: if you got to fight anyone in the UFC, who would you want to fight first? Who would be your first pick on a fight?
Oh,
I don't mean.
I haven't really looked so far into the future that way, but man, at 45, if like, cause I'm down to jump in at short notice for 45 in the UFC. Really anybody they would give me, I wouldn't mind fighting. 135. Uh, it just really, I would hope to get someone like at least top 20,
Okay.
as my debut. Someone in, near the 15 range. Um, I don't, I don't think I would have a hard time competing against the higher level guys. But anyone they would put in front, if a short notice fight, a lot of my fights have always been short notice against guys who are supposed to beat me, or even if they did beat me, they were supposed to finish me. You know what I'm saying? So I've always surprised a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of people lost money betting against me. So whoever they want to put me in, I'm just grateful for the opportunity. And again, I love taking short notice fights. There's no problem for me.
So the word is out there. If they come up with something short notice for you, you're in.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
that's awesome, man. And like you said, you come into these fights at short notice. You're usually like expected not to win the fight, right?
Yeah.
Because you were the underdog coming into this last fight with Sabatini.
Yeah.
And I think you just erupted and showed everybody what you got, man. It was an incredible debut, not debut, but it was incredible performance in a short notice like that for you. So
I think I've been the underdog for every single fight I've had. I'm not sure. I don't know. People don't believe in the the Speedy Gonzalez, but I think I've always been an underdog. But I've never had like people pick fights for me. Like, it's never been like, hey, you want to fight this guy? I think you can beat him. It's like, hey, there's this guy. They need you to fight. You want to fight this guy? It's always been tough opponents. So like my coaches or even the promotions I fought for, like, they've never been like, oh, here's a gimme fight. I've always gotten like the tough guys who are on a roll, who they were thinking were top prospects. Those have always been the guys I fought, and I hope to keep it that way.
Yeah, and by the way, can you cut weight by 16 pounds in 6 days?
Yeah, do you love I don't know who else loves loves the fight that much to look forward to cutting weight like that. I've always been confused with why people like, I've had to pull out of fights before too, but I don't think it's ever been my own choice. It's always been the commission saying, oh, you have 102 fever. If you get hit while you have a fever, your brain could start bleeding and all that stuff. So like, they won't let you fight if you're sick, So like, besides being sick, I've never had any issue showing up to a fight, and I hope to keep it that way,
Well, I'll tell you what, you said people don't believe in you. Made a believer out of me. I will not bet against you. I don't bet on fights, but if I was, I would bet against Speedy Gonzalez here. You definitely have you have something that's really kind of it's intense. Whatever you came in there with, and I think you're going to have a great future going forward. I do think that I'll be seeing you in the UFC at some point in the near future. I hope you get on the Contender Series, because I think
that'd be great.
We'll hopefully, and hopefully someone sees this and says, hey, we want to get this kid in the UFC on a short notice bill, or whatever you got to do to get there. But hey, for the meantime, you are the featherweight champion of the world in Cage Fury, which is awesome, man. I mean, that's that's an amazing league right there too. And
it's definitely one of the top feeder promotions in the country to get into the UFC. You've seen her already. Aljamain Sterling was the CFFC champion. Yep. Caitlin Chukagian, she just fought for a title this weekend. Yep. She was CFFC champion. Yep. Paul Velder, they've had a lot of guys go from there and get into UFC, and I hope to just follow suit. That's the point of that.
Well, I think you will, brother. It's gonna be awesome. I look forward to seeing it. Thank you again for coming on the podcast, man. I really appreciate it. Good luck, man, and keep training and keep taking those fights. And I hope I hear that you're going to be fighting in the UFC, and I'll definitely be watching, and I'll definitely be calling you afterwards to get an interview. So.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. You're on the Instagram now. I got you saved in there.
Well, I'm on the list now, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's been busy because like everyone wants to, you gotta. Especially after a fight, like a big fight like this, people want to see me jumping around all the time. So again, sorry it took a little while to get everything situated. But man, I appreciate your time and asking me, how I'm doing and everything, and appreciate that a bunch.
Nah, man, it's awesome to have you on, and I appreciate it.